Hey guys, FirstinWeather here. It is the second day of April, and boy, has it been a cold March. Especially for portions of the Mid-Atlantic and northern portions of the Southeast. It was really an extremely cold March, and but something that proves this is the fact that many locations had a colder average temperature for March than they did for April. And some of you here in Central Virginia might remember the 70 and near 80-degree days we had in February, and then in March we had two snow events here that each dumped about 2 inches each in the Central Virginia area. We had temperatures that were way below average for the year. Keep in mind, average temperatures at the end of March are in the low 60s. A lot of times we were stuck in the low 40s and maybe even sometimes the upper 30s. And so this ended up being the top 10, one of the top 10 coldest Marches in the Central Virginia area, which is really quite astonishing. Astonishing seeing the record warm February we had, where we had I believe it was the sixth warmest February on record in Richmond, and then we had the eighth coldest March in Richmond the month after. So that was pretty amazing to see that dramatic turnaround, and that was in part due to the delayed NAO turning negative. And so we had that NAO being positive basically all winter, and then suddenly, like this, it just snapped into the strong negative phase, and that just had a big old block form in Greenland up here. And then you had all that cold air being funneling down like this. And basically you had a lot of cold air coming in. Let me redraw that for you. So you had this thing up here, so it was like this, and it went like that. Except this high pressure was over here, so this jet stream came down all the way to here, right? And so you basically had a very cold east and a much warmer than average west. And it really was an interesting month in terms of a meteorological standpoint. Really interesting to see. But now it's April, and it's time to look towards the spring and see what's going on. And this video will have my 2018 spring forecast for this year, including the months of April, May, and June, the meteorological months of spring. The meteorological months of spring are March, April, and May, but I will be doing a spring forecast for April, May, and June. And you might notice that, unlike my other seasonal forecasts, my spring and fall forecasts aren't really that in depth or thorough, like unlike my winter and summer forecast. And I think that's mostly because the winter and summer have much more importance and significance than the spring and fall outlooks. So for these, I just have my temperature and precipitation outlook. I don't really go into any of the in-depth factors or anything. I don't conduct too much research. I do conduct some, but nothing really too in-depth. So without further ado, let's get right to it. So this is my spring 2018 temperature forecast, and also bear with me on this one fact. I'm using a new software called Paint 3D that got released a while back, but I just decided to use it because I'm really lazy. But this is my first time using it, so my map does look pretty ugly, so I'm sorry about that. But hopefully in the future I can make it look better. But right now, this is what I came up with. So here is my temperature forecast. Oh, sorry, this is my precipitation, my bad. This is my temperature forecast. So I'm going with slightly above average temperatures in the mid-Atlantic, northern portions of the southeast, a sliver of the central United States, and then basically California. And I'm predicting that area will see slightly above average temperatures. In this orange color right here, this dark orange, I'm going with above average temperatures for that area. I'm going to say temperatures about 2 to 4 degrees above average. Basically for the majority of Texas, not including the Panhandle, all of Florida, basically the extreme southeast, and southern portions of the southwest. In this big white area right here, I'm going to go with average conditions, average temperatures, and then this light blue, slightly below average temperatures, and in this darker blue, I'm going to go with below average temperatures for the United States, or not for the United States, for this area. And I'm relatively confident for these areas that are in the below or above category. Where it gets tricky is the slightly above and slightly below. That's the area that could see some fluctuation. But when it comes to the above and below average, I'm relatively confident that those areas are going to be correct for this forecast. Now, if we switch gears to precipitation, I'm going with, the reason for this is because the jet stream is going to be like this, putting that cold air in. So you're going to have a big area of above average precipitation right here, followed by slightly above average precipitation here in Maine and northeastern portions of the Midwest. Then you have this little sliver of average precipitation running along the country, and I don't know why, but this kind of reminds me of the path of the solar eclipse that we had in the summer. Kind of went just like this path right here. It was a little further south though, but looks really similar. Then in this yellowish color, slightly below average precipitation, and in this orange color, again, I'm gonna go with below average precipitation. And again, in the areas that are above and below, I'm relatively confident, but I get a little less confident when it comes to the slightly above and slightly below average precipitation forecast. So that's my precipitation and temperature forecast for the 2018 spring season. It's really brief, really quick forecast, not really that in depth. But I look forward to making a much more in-depth forecast for the summer and then winter, which is a long way away. But yeah, for the summer and winter, I'll be making a lot of graphs, PowerPoints, like you remember for my 2017-2018 winter forecast. Now, let's go to the models. This is the GFS, probably my favorite model. I don't know why. I just grew up always looking at the GFS model, so this is the model that I always like to use. And on the plus side, the GFS has been way more accurate than the European this winter in basically almost every winter storm for the East Coast. I don't know if that's going to be a pattern, but that definitely was the case this winter. And so if we take this through, right now we're basically in a pattern that's going to see lots of swings in temperatures. So right now you have the jet stream, not this, I don't want this. Let's see. Alright, so right now you have the jet stream, which is like this. So you have cold air here, warm air here, and you're going to have periodic cold fronts coming through that knock down that cold air, make the jet stream go like this. Or you're going to have, and then ahead of those cold fronts, you're going to have all that warm air rising up, right? So you're going to have a cold front right here, you have all that warm air rising up, and then once that cold front passes through, you're going to have a day or so of much below average temperatures, and then a day or so of much above average temperatures. So basically a pattern that's changing a lot. If you look at the forecast for Central Virginia, we're going to see temperatures in the 70s one day and then temperatures in the 50s the next day. So a very volatile pattern, one that's going to be changing very frequently. And now if we take this through to 15 days to examine the pattern, you see we have a very seasonal flow, basically mild Pacific air coming in, but when that cold front does come through, you get a little shot of cold air and then it returns to that basically flat flow of the jet stream. Here you see that cold front coming through. Look at that, exactly what I was saying. You have that warm air coming up, so you have a day or so of really warm air, and then once that cold front comes through, you have all that cold air coming in. So very weather pattern that's changing very frequently. Sorry, I don't know why I can't pronounce that word, my bad. But then that goes through, and then look at this. What in the world is the GFS model doing? I don't even know. And I saw this a few runs ago actually. Let me see if I can find it. Yep, right here. The GFS model was basically showing a big snowstorm for the Mid-Atlantic, and I just thought for a second, what in the world is wrong with this GFS model? I mean, if you think about it, Central Virginia has never seen a snowstorm in April where we've had more than an inch of snow, only more than a few times. I think we've only had like about 3 or 4 instances in April where we've seen more than an inch of snow, and this dates back to the late 1800s. The last time we even had snow in April was in 2007 when we had a little dusting, and that was that. But if we look at the snowfall amounts, even if we go to the positive snow depth change from the GFS, the positive, look, what is that? 11 inches. And then when I went to the temperatures, not even believing this, I looked and saw that the high temperature for Sunday was in the mid-30s. And keep in mind, or let me go further back. So this is 18Z, right? The high temperature for Saturday, 1 p.m. So basically, the high temperature for Saturday was in the upper 20s, and I just could not believe this. This is just unbelievable what this model was showing. And then obviously the next model one, or a couple runs after that, if we go, it just completely collapses. The storm basically goes north of us, and this is more realistic. A late season storm, or an early spring storm for the interior portions of the Northeast. That is more reasonable. But now, as we're getting closer, this is the 2nd of April. This is for April 7th. It's showing the potential for a few snowflakes falling in portions of North Carolina and Central Virginia. Obviously, this would have a very hard time sticking due to the high sun angle, marginal temperatures, and I think even if this does happen, we're not really going to see more than an inch of snow at most. But the chance of this happening right now, I would probably say 1 in 10 of seeing an actual low pressure developing and seeing an actual swath of snow covering portions of Virginia. I think there's a 1 in 10 chance of happening. 10%, very minimal. I mean, this is solely going off of historical data. I mean, when's the last time we had an actual significant snowstorm affect the area? In April. Just think about it. It's historically so rare and so difficult to do. It's just not possible. And I think the GFS model is being overly optimistic for snow lovers. This is just not going to happen. I mean, just not possible at this time of year. So this is April 4th. This is Wednesday. Today is Monday. So you have a cold front coming through. So things are going to warm up for Tuesday and Wednesday. I'm sorry I'm backtracking here, but right now I'm going to go to the short term and then focus on that system again. So today's Monday. You're going to have warm air rising in. So Tuesday and Wednesday are going to be quite warm. That cold front comes through, brings in much colder air for the Northeast and Southeast for Thursday. Then we see a return of more like seasonal air. But look at this. The GFS model is showing another system coming through that could bring interior snows to the Northeast. And as that comes through, that is what sets the ingredients for this potential storm. So again, Tuesday, Wednesday, warm. Then go back. So Tuesday, Wednesday, warm. Thursday, Friday, kind of cold, below average temperatures. And then Saturday, seasonal temperatures. But as this system comes through, that will set the stage for cold air to funnel in, right? So cold air is going to funnel in through here. And that will set the stage basically for cold air to be locked in here while this system runs through, right? I think there are a lot of things have to go right for this to actually work. First of all, this thing has to actually develop. It actually has to track right here, and it has to happen at night. If it happens in the day, it's so late, temperatures will probably not go below 37 during the daytime. High temperatures will probably be in the upper 30s, so that basically will change everything to mostly a rain-snow mix, and that snow will not even accumulate on the ground unless it snows really heavy, dropping the temperature to around freezing, which is not likely at this point. So we need this to come in at night. And another thing I want to talk about is the inconsistency of this. None of the other models are even hinting at this. So this is only the GFS. So if the European, the GFS, they were all showing this, then I would actually kind of get a little excited. I would get a little hyped up. I would kind of tell you guys that, oh guys, there's actually the chance that this could happen. But none of the other models are showing this. So I think the GFS is just being really dumb right now. It's overcorrecting. It's being way too aggressive, way too optimistic for snow lovers. And I think as we head closer to Sunday, this is basically gonna fizzle out into nothing. It's gonna show a little system track more like this. Maybe some snows right here. Track like this, some snows right here, or it might not even form anything. So I think the chance of this actually happening is really just 1 out of 10, very minimal. But if we go, so I'm gonna basically discard this and just move on right now. If anything does change, which is extremely unlikely, emphasis on the word extremely unlikely, I will make another video and update you guys on that. But let's go past that. So that goes through, you have basically seasonal temperatures, and yeah, you basically have more of the same. You have a very volatile pattern. You have a bunch of temperature changes that come through, and you have periods of warm weather, periods of cooler weather. So basically what's normal for spring. At this time of year, the jet stream is adjusting to its prime position, so you're gonna have a bunch of fluctuations. It's gonna go up, down, everywhere, and that's why we see these huge fluctuations in the temperature for the country. So that's it for now, guys. Again, that's my spring forecast for this year. The theme for the next couple weeks is just basically a lot of temperature changes. You're gonna go from warm one day to cold the next day. That's how it's gonna be. It's normal for this time of year. And yeah, that's pretty much it, guys. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you next time.